Hi, my name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. I produce the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings and the Bias Plus reports. And this is Ben and Barry on football.
Hello out there. This is Ben Dickerson, your co-host. Week 2 of the NFL season is in the books. Great games this past weekend. Looking forward to some great ones coming up in week 3.
We're recording this today on September 22nd. So we are going into week 3, Ben, of what we lovingly call the second preseason, which means in the current 17-game system, if we look at the first 5 games as the second preseason. And I literally heard someone on Green Bay, I think it was, call that first game like, oh, that was like a preseason game or something.
That was like the 4th preseason game that they normally would have.
Didn't he say that?
Yeah.
Kind of legitimizes what we've been saying about this game, because a lot of these guys are just playing together for the first few games. You know, it's not like they really had a chance to gel over a preseason or anything like that.
Right.
But since it's 5 games, you have a middle game, you know, and this is the 3rd game. This is the middle game. So I'm really looking to see who really pulls their act together as we move forward here. But let's look back on week 2 and get a quick review from you, Ben Dickerson. Ben's review on week 2. Let us just tell us a little bit about what happened and what we should be taking from week 2 into week 3.
Well, sir, I'm going to try to go through this, excuse me, as quickly as I can. We're going to go through each game in the order that we talked about them last week. Hopefully they kind of fall into place. I think I'm starting with the Thursday night game and going to end with the Monday night game. But here we go, week 2. So the Washington football team went into MetLife to play my team, the New York Giants. And the Washington football team ended up winning the game 30-29. This was a very entertaining game. Trust me. So the elephant in the room is, where is Saquon Barkley? When is Saquon going to be right? When is the Giants run game going to get going? Because we know they need it. Everybody knows the offensive line is not very good, but Barkley was actually on the field for 84% of the offensive snaps, which is almost twice as much as he was on the field for game 1. He had one really nice run, and then he was held in check for a total of 57 yards on 13 carries. But that being said, it all rests on the shoulders of Daniel Jones, and he gave a great effort in this one. So at this point, we can't really, if you're a Giants fan out there like I am, we can't really depend on Saquon except for hoping that he continues to get better and better as the weeks go on, which I expect him to do. Daniel Jones gave a great effort. Like I said, he completed 22 out of 32 passes, which is pretty efficient. It was for 249 yards. He did throw a touchdown pass, and he did well as running, excuse me, for a nice, strong 95 yards on only 9 carries. Some of them were designed runs. Most of them were designed runs. It's almost like he's Lamar Jackson light. You like that? Now, for those of you who are questioning, and some of you making fun of Taylor Heinecke from the Washington football team, peep this. In only his 2nd career regular season start, he was 34-46, threw for 336 yards. He threw for 2 touchdowns, and he only had 1 interception. After a little bit of a rough start, he settled down, and he basically lived off of Terry McLaurin all night, which is a pretty smart thing to do because Terry McLaurin is a stud wide receiver. He got 5 total catches from J.D. McKissick. One of those was a beautiful out and up. Remember, we used to run, remember the old down, out and up? So McKissick ran a nice out and up. That went for like 56 yards. Meanwhile, McLaurin was just a beast. He was catching 11 balls on 14 targets. He continuously got open, continuously helped them move the sticks, and he scored a touchdown. So great effort by McLaurin, great effort by Heinecke. Good win for the Washington football team against my guys. Next game we're going to report on is the New Orleans Saints coming off of that big win they had against the Packers in week 1. They roll into Carolina to play the Panthers, and they get smacked 26-7. So we learned a lot about these two teams in this game, but I'll just give you 2 of the things that we learned. One of them, the first thing was, as good as Jameis and the Saints offense looked in week 1, they looked equally bad against the Panthers. The second thing is, as surprisingly good as Sam Darnold and the Panthers looked in week 1, they looked even better in week 2 against New Orleans. Darnold threw 38 balls, completed 26 of them, 305 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had 8 completions that actually went just to DJ Moore for 79 yards and a score, and 5 of them went to stud running back Christian McCaffrey. Thank you, God, for Christian McCaffrey in fantasy football. I've been holding on to Christian McCaffrey in 2 keeper leagues for 2 years now, waiting for just this, what I'm getting from him. Let's see, 5 catches, 65 yards, made an impact on the ground with 72 yards and a touchdown on 24 carries. Yeah, the little white guy who looks fragile ain't, okay? He's the man. Don't sleep on the Carolina defense either. They've had 10 sacks and 3 interceptions in these first 2 games. That's a fantasy alert, Carolina defense. Cincinnati, the Bengals go into Chicago to play the Bears and come away with a loss. The Chicago Bears beat them 20-17. Probably in an attempt not to put quarterback Joe Burrow in too much danger. The Bengals have been very, very run heavy in their first 2 games. Joe Mixon was pretty effective week 1. He had 29 carries for 127 yards. But against the Bears, he got 20 carries, but he only turned them into 69 yards. Now, Burrow did throw for 2 touchdowns, but he also threw 3 picks. They were all in the second half. You know that's going to be doom, right? The Bears got the win. But now the big starting quarterback question gets even bigger. So Andy Dalton got a little injured. He looked good early, connecting on 9 of 11 passes for 1 touchdown before going down with a bruised knee. It's just a bruised knee. Doesn't seem to be too bad. They're kind of hoping that he's going to be able to play this week. If, in fact, he is healthy, they're saying that he will play. But if he cannot, rookie first rounder Justin Fields, who entered the game but didn't play that well, probably because of his lack of first-team reps in practice, because, the starter gets all the first-team reps. So because he lacked the first-team reps, it's hard for him to come in and just take over a game, especially being a rookie. But if Dalton can't go, they're going to go with Fields. I believe that they want to go with Fields anyway. They've been waiting for an opportunity to start him. They can't not give Dalton the first-team reps if he is healthy, but if he gets hurt or plays horribly, they are more than ready to put Fields in the game. Forget about what the head coach says. Andy Dalton's my starter. Forget that. Okay.
They already named Fields the starter, right?
Yes. Well, if they named Fields the starter today, that means they don't expect Dalton to be ready.
It's pretty much a done deal.
Okay. But that's because Dalton's not ready. Now, here's the deal. If he plays well,
they're just saying he's injured.
If he plays well, Dalton can chalk it. Okay. If he doesn't play well and Dalton gets healthy, Dalton will start again. But there's no freaking way that if he plays well, Dalton will ever see the light of day again unless Fields gets hurt. That'd be the end of that. So.
And Nick Foles is in the background ready to take the Bears to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, well, hopefully Nick Foles is doing the mentor thing because he's got a lot to offer, and hopefully he'll help Fields along. Next game we got is the Houston Texans going into Cleveland to play the Browns. Now, this one was kind of a no-brainer, but it turned out to be a little bit better game than I thought it was going to be, at least score-wise. But Cleveland won the game 31-21. Remember we had this segment last week where we talked about, should we feel sorry for Tyrod Taylor? I now feel terribly sorry for Tyrod Taylor. Poor Tyrod Taylor. This guy has the worst luck. Dude, this guy has the worst luck.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, he had a solid showing in week 1 against the Jags. He was able to throw for 125 yards and a touchdown in this one before going down with a hamstring injury that might keep him out for a month. You know, hamstrings are bad. This one, I haven't heard if it's a severe one or not, but it's going to keep him out at least 4 weeks. Yeah, he was replaced by David Mills, who's a third-round rookie, who played exactly like a third-round rookie, pretty much. I mean, yeah, the Browns got the win, but how long are the Browns going to be able to be successful with their receiver core all decimated and jacked up and hurt, and injured, and whatever words you want to use? Odell's not ready. Landry goes down. Rashad Higgins is healthy, but not looking quite right. They got a couple of other guys that I never heard of before. The Brown receiving core is crazy. Lucky for them, they got the 1-2 punch of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. But they're pretty much going to have to live off of that. If you got Baker Mayfield in fantasy, I don't know. I'm not going to say you should drop him and get somebody else, but you might want to bench him for a little while because his throwing options are not going to be good. Let me see. Wow. What was his numbers? He was pretty efficient. He was 19-21, 213 yards. He threw 4 touchdowns. He also threw an interception. He did run in a touchdown, so that was good. But again, luckily the Browns, who are already a run-centric team, will now have to lean heavily on Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Chubb did bulldoze his way for 95 yards and a score on 11 carries, and Hunt rushed for another 51 yards. So, yeah, they're a running team anyway. That's what they're going to do. That's what you can expect. And it's just that it takes a little diversity away from the team. So I like Cleveland. I like Cleveland to go far this year. Excuse me, but they're going to have to get the receivers back. Odell's got to show up. Landry's got to get healthy too. Now, I was looking forward to this game. I'm not going to say this was my intriguing game, but I was kind of looking forward to this game. LA Rams going to Indianapolis to play the Colts. I had a feeling this was going to be a close game. It actually was I was getting ready to say for a little while, but for a good little while there, this game got real interesting. The Rams ended up winning the game 27-21. The Colts fell behind early, but they came roaring back to tie the score at 24. But all that happened before Carson Wentz went down with 2 sprained ankles. Who goes down with 2 sprained ankles? But if you see the tackle, if you watch it, did you watch the tackle?
It was a twist.
Yeah, Aaron Donald grabbed him. He rolled with him, so he took the weight of his own body, rolled with him, fell on one ankle. One ankle went under Aaron Donald, and the other ankle, Aaron Donald crisscrossed his legs over Wentz's leg. It was ugly if you watch it in slow motion. It really was. It was crazy.
That one of those WWF moves that he pulled.
Yeah, it was like a figure 4 leg lock or something, man. That shit was crazy. But anyway.
But I will say this much. I saw at least 3 times this past weekend quarterbacks trying to throw the ball and their legs are not clear. You know,
yeah.
and next thing you know, they're going down as they're throwing the ball. I saw that at least 3 times this weekend. Wentz has been guilty of not using his mobility, you know, to get himself in a good, clear throwing position on the field. He tends to kind of, all that mobility, he's kind of standing there still. So, okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So, no problem. So up to that point, before he got injured, Wentz was actually 20 of 31 for 245 yards and 1 touchdown. He had thrown 1 interception. Now, it's possible that this game may have been different if Wentz had been able to stay healthy. But the Rams offense is so explosive, I really doubt it. These guys can turn it on at any moment. Matthew Stafford is living his best life right now. The Matt Stafford that was in Detroit, that for years people have been saying, wow, if he just was on another team or on a team with more weapons, how good could he be? Guess what? We're seeing that right now. Right now. He threw for 278 yards, 2 touchdowns. Both touchdowns went to Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp has benefited from Stafford being in LA from day one. In fact, from what I heard, these guys meet early, have breakfast, and then throw the ball around before the rest of the team even gets to the complex. He had 9 total catches, by the way, also for 163 yards. So another great game for Cooper Kupp. I doubt if Cooper Kupp is available in any fantasy leagues, but if by chance he is, or if by chance you can trade for him, it'd be very worthwhile to try to get your hands on Cooper Kupp. Jacksonville Jaguars go into Denver, Colorado to play the Denver Broncos and get beat fairly handily 23-13. Now, I have a stat about Trevor Lawrence that basically sums up the futility of the Jaguars. Listen to this. Lawrence leads the NFL with a 36% uncatchable pass rate. So to put that simply, no other starting quarterback has been more inaccurate than Trevor Lawrence through his first 2 NFL games. I have nothing else to say about the Jaguars. Now,
is that, do you believe that is like Trevor Lawrence has some fundamental throwing flaw, or is it just a matter of he's under constant pressure to the point where he's, everything's coming out bad?
He's pressing and he's under tremendous pressure. The offensive line cannot hold up. Teams are sending everybody at him, and he is trying to move the team, and he can't. It's too much. It's too much. Not to mention reading NFL defenses, okay? Because they're not just sending pressure, they're giving him different looks, okay? He makes a call offensively, they make a call defensively. They got him confused. He's not looking good at all. It's not looking good.
Also, the other thing is that when I'm looking at that, and we use the word, or I use it, brain trust.
Mm-hmm.
You have a rookie quarterback and a rookie coach.
Rookie head coach, that's correct.
So that just adds up to a difficult year.
Absolutely. No question about it. So now we go from that not so surprising story of futility to a somewhat surprising story of efficiency. The Broncos look like a team that needs to be reckoned with. If not now, then very soon people will realize that the Broncos need to be reckoned with. The run game is solid, with Melvin Gordon looking healthy and spry. The rookie Javonte Williams from North Carolina is splitting carries with him, and both of them have been involved in the pass game. So sometimes, if you kind of have a running back by committee, or one guy's a little better runner than the other, but the other guy's like a third down back that catches more passes, both these guys can run. Both these guys can catch passes. It's a pretty dynamic little group here. Melvin Gordon's getting a little bit up in age, but he looks real good and he looks healthy, and Javonte's a rookie, and he's coming along nicely. The young receiver core that I've spoken of many, many times also has been solid. Courtland Sutton's back from injury. He looks great. Tim Patrick looks great. Those two have been the most productive. Jerry Jeudy's been hurt, but when he comes back, that's going to make them even better. And they still kind of got KJ Hamler from Penn State kind of sitting in the wings, ready to take over wherever. I think they've been running Patrick out of the slot some and Hamler out of the slot some, but Sutton and Patrick seem to be sucking up most of the targets. So those are the guys that are making the biggest impact. When Jeudy comes back, this is going to be crazy offense. And the defense had 2 picks against the Jags, and they haven't allowed more than 13 points yet over 2 games. So, and to top that off, my man Teddy Two Gloves, you know why they call him Teddy Two Gloves, right?
Teddy Bridgewater?
Yeah,
Why?
because he wears two gloves.
Okay.
Even in good weather.
Okay.
Some quarterbacks will put a glove on their throwing hand in bad weather. Teddy Two Gloves wears two gloves at all times. Hence the name Teddy Two Gloves. Remember that. That's good.
Then
Good trivia.
what kind of gloves does he wear?
You know, I didn't look that closely, but I think he's got a Nike contract, but I'll double check on that.
Yeah, we have to find that out.
All right, we'll check on that. Right now, he's basically playing mistake-free football. He hasn't had a single turnover yet in 2 games. He flamed the Jaguars defense for 328 yards on 26 of 34 passing, and he threw 2 touchdowns. So Teddy Bridgewater looking great. Now, here's the game I was looking forward to that I thought was going to be a lot better than it was. This game, as a game to watch, really let me down. But I was extremely happy because I saw one of my favorite teams to watch in the AFC, the Buffalo Bills, just waste the Miami Dolphins, 35-0. Miami hosted Buffalo. Bills basically just took their lunch money. If I'm not mistaken, we have witnessed the first shutout of the young 2021 career. Would you say that? I don't think anybody else got shut out yet this week or last week.
Yeah, I think you might be right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that this is the first.
Even the Saints beat down of the Packers in week 1. The Packers.
Yeah, at least they had 6. They kicked 2 field goals. So
like that.
Yeah, this is the first goose egg. So the Bills defense wasn't number 1 in fantasy last week, but they sure are now. They recorded 6 sacks, 1 interception, 2 fumble recoveries, 3 3-and-outs, and 4 fourth down stops. Now, why Miami went for it on 4th down 4 times, I couldn't tell you, but they didn't have a chance. Okay? Josh Allen, however, is off to a slow start, but even his recent bout of inaccuracy didn't hurt him in this game. Now, right here, I want to stop real quick. I want to give a shout out to my man, Rodrian Howard, my man, Chief. You were right, partly. You told me how inaccurate Josh Allen was in game 1, but you took it too far when you said he's always been inaccurate. Josh Allen, in fact, was very good last season. He was number 6 overall in the NFL in completion percentage. But these first 2 games, I'm extremely disappointed in Josh Allen. So yes, Chief, right now, Josh Allen ain't looking so great. He was a lowly 17 of 33 for only 179 yards. Now, he did throw 2 touchdowns, but on top of those bad numbers, he threw a pick. Not happy with Josh Allen right now. He's going to need to play better if the Bills are going to advance like I expected them to. New England Patriots go into MetLife, play the New York Jets. They smack them around 25-6 as was expected. Oh, wow. This was another contest between AFC East rivals, a battle between 2 rookie starting quarterbacks, and another one-sided affair. The Jets quarterback, Zach Wilson, got pounded by the Patriots defense, got sacked 4 times, and even worse than that, he threw 4 interceptions. He got sacked 4 times and threw 4 interceptions. Unbelievable. That's big pressure. Fantasy alert. If the New England defense is out there, grab them, okay? Now, conversely, rookie quarterback Mac Jones seemed to be in pretty good control of the Patriots offense. He didn't throw for a touchdown, and he did take 3 sacks, but he didn't turn the ball over, and he basically let Damian Harris and James White do most of the heavy lifting. They got the runs, they got the short passes, they got the yardage. So he didn't have to work so hard. Let's face it, it was the Jets.
And it was the Patriots.
Excuse me?
And one of the next segments, Ben, that was my intriguing game of the week.
New England and the Jets?
Because of the two rookie quarterbacks.
Oh, yeah,
I really wanted to see, where they were at this particular point in the season, because they were of the group of rookie or the class of rookie quarterbacks that came in. They were them and Trevor Lawrence were pretty much the defined starters. There's no question. Well, no,
so
it was Zach and Trevor who were the defined starters. It was Mac who won the title, won the position. The other ones didn't really have anybody really contending to start as a quarterback, but Mac Jones did.
They were right. They were declared the starters from day one. Mac Jones had to earn the job, which he did. And I'll tell you, they both put on different types of rookie performances. Like I said, Mac seemed to be in control, but wasn't asked to do too much. He did take 3 sacks, but he didn't turn the ball over, but he also didn't score. Zach was on the other side of the whole equation there, getting pounded with 4 sacks and throwing 4 interceptions. So obviously, Mac Jones is on a better overall team with a better offensive line, better protection, and hopefully he'll thrive from that. Zach, it's going to be a rough season for him. Excuse me. But the guy has shown he's got skills. It's just, can they keep him upright?
The same math that applied to the Jaguars applies here. Rookie quarterback, rookie coach.
Yeah, pretty much.
And the defensive coach, I generally don't trust defensive coaches' offensive capabilities.
Well, now let's be fair.
That's my bias. It's a bias for me.
No, I understand that.
It comes from what's the name? The coach that came from the Bears to the Eagles.
Buddy Ryan. But again, let's be fair. Buddy Ryan was a bully who wanted to run the damn team by himself. He was a defensive coach by trade, but he had too much input on the offense. Darn near ruined Randall Cunningham. Robert Saleh, I don't think, is that kind of guy. And there are other defensive coaches in the league, like the guy with the Titans that came from the Patriots.
I know you're talking about.
These guys are defensive coaches who have become head coaches, but pretty much cede all the offensive stuff to their coordinators.
And I have to be honest,
which is the smart thing to do.
To really look at the offensive coordinator a little closer. But again, that's just a little bias that I have. As a Niner fan, Bill Walsh was an offensive genius. You know what I mean? And if the defense was good, we were in real good shape, But
but it works the other way too.
Huh?
It works the other way too.
It can work the other way, yeah. I just, again, the head coach, whatever the coordinators do has to go through the head coach.
For some reason, people seem to think that every head coach has something to do with the offense. That's not true. That's not true.
We'll find out where Saleh stands on this.
Nobody expects offensive coaches to say anything to the defense, but for some reason, people expect defensive-minded head coaches to have offensive input. Why?
Because they're the head coach.
If they're an offensive coach and they've only coached offense, they've only been OCs, and they become the head coach, are they going to say anything to the defense?
Potentially.
So the Las Vegas Raiders went into Pittsburgh to play the Pittsburgh Steelers. They actually won the game 26-17. Now, I thought this was going to be a much better game than it was. Pittsburgh looks like they're in trouble. There's a lot of trouble in Steeler land, and it's kind of cropping up on both sides of the ball. The offense appears to be unimaginative, and therefore they're very, very predictable. Defenses are kind of having their way with them. Big Ben seems to be having issues with the offensive coordinator, who's Matt Canada. And this is Matt Canada's first time being an offensive coordinator for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm not exactly sure where he came from. I'm going to have to check on that. But his lack of imagination and his use of formations and overall play calling seems to be what Big Ben has the most trouble with. Now, to top all that off, Roethlisberger sustained an injury to his chest during the Raiders game. He did finish the game. I think it's his left pec, so it's away from his throwing arm. They expect that he'll be able to play this week in week 3, but they're not 100% sure. Excuse me. And to top all of it off, the Pittsburgh defense is nowhere near what people thought they were going to be at the beginning of the season. Meanwhile, it's all good in Raider land. Gruden's looking great. Derek Carr ripped the Steelers secondary for 382 yards on 28 of 37 passing, and he threw 2 touchdown passes. He has now thrown, check this out, he has now thrown for 817 yards and 4 touchdowns in only 2 games with only 1 interception. Fantasy note, if Derek Carr is available, I know he's got a little gimpy ankle, but if you're a little needy of a quarterback or you trusted Jameis Winston and now you're ready to dump him, take a look at Derek Carr. Okay, your team, the San Francisco 49ers, came into Philadelphia to play the Eagles. We are in Philadelphia. I was hearing a whole lot of stuff from Eagles fans this past week. They really took y'all lightly. Like they really thought they was going to mop y'all. I couldn't believe it.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Now, granted, most of these are younger guys, okay? The older Eagle fans that I talked to,
brethren.
yeah, right. The older Eagle fans I talked to were a little leery, but they were still confident because they didn't think the Niners were the Niners that they were afraid of. They were kind of right. So my thing was Jimmy G was doing the game manager thing, but not in a good way. He only completed 22 passes on 30 attempts. It's not much. Lightweight, 189 yards. He only threw for 1 touchdown. Excuse me?
You said 22 or 30?
Yes, he threw the ball 30 times. He completed 22, but only for 189 yards, but he did throw a touchdown pass.
That is a 73% completion rate.
He also scored on a quarterback sneak. So that's 2 touchdowns. So even though it's only 189 yards, it's 2 touchdowns. So in the fantasy world, Jimmy G had a good game. But in the real world, he basically did just enough. Now, Deebo Samuels was the only offensive skill position player to get off in this game. George Kittle was held in check, and the Niners basically got nothing from their running game. In fact, when you talk about their running game, here we go again. Elijah Mitchell gets a shoulder injury, looked like a stinger. They were massaging it out. He was able to return to the game. James Hasty, high ankle sprain. He could be out who knows how long. They haven't put him on IR yet, but they might. Trey Sermon, concussion protocol. Holy smokes. I think he did have a light practice today. So if he can get through the protocol, there's a possibility that he'll play. But I doubt it. So right now you're looking at Elijah Mitchell and whoever they call to get up off their couch and come in to camp and suit up and practice.
We'll talk about that in the next one of the next segments.
Okay, good. Because I know there were some names getting thrown around, but I wasn't exactly sure who they were going to bring in. Now, this game was there for the taking for the Eagles. The Niners did not play well, and the Eagle defense did just enough to kind of make it really tough and keep their offense in a position to be able to win the game. But they kept shooting themselves in the foot. The defense wasn't spectacular. They had no sacks and no turnovers, but they played solid enough that the Niners had to struggle for everything that they got. Now, one of the big issues for Philadelphia was somewhat surprising in the accuracy of Jalen Hurts. I had not heard nor had I seen him be wild with his passes. You know what I mean? Like you talk about a pitcher, he's high and outside. You know what I mean? It looked kind of crazy. In fact, he wasn't high and outside. He was low and in the dirt. He made a few big throws, and he did run 10 times for 82 yards, which was really good, again, for fantasy, but not real life. He also ran for a touchdown, but he underthrew several balls to wide open receivers. They were drive killers. It basically contributed mightily to them losing that game. And that was a game that they basically had in hand and just couldn't secure it. Now,
I was basically disappointed in my defensive line. They were allowing Jalen Hurts to get outside of them way too often. I'm like, okay, how many times you guys going to make this mistake? But on the other hand, Jalen Hurts was running a lot more than passing. And I didn't know that if he was having coverage issues with his receivers and, you know, he's just taking off, or was he just, you know, sort of regressing to the quickest opportunity and just going in that direction. So it's going to be interesting. We'll talk about what they have to deal with coming up in one of the next segments. But okay.
Yeah. The way I saw it was, I think he was taking advantage of what they were giving him. But he wasn't right when it came to throwing the ball. I don't know where that came from. I don't know if they were giving him coverages that he wasn't sure about, and he was short arming some throws. That's a possibility, but I really don't know. Probably have to look at the replay of the game.
As open as he was on some of those rollouts, he could have rolled out and stopped, and just it would have had 2 to 3 extra seconds for people to uncover. Just because he was so far away from everybody, because my D line was collapsing, you know, on the inside, and he was just taking full advantage of. He's very mobile. You know?
Yeah, he ain't gonna do that.
You know,
those guys that have the kind of running ability that him and Lamar and Kyle and even Josh have, they're not gonna do that unless they see somebody as they're rolling come completely open. They're never gonna stop and throw it. They're out. They're gonna run.
You know who will stop and throw it? Patrick Mahomes.
Yes, and guess what? That's not good in my eyes. And, well, okay, I don't want to get into Patrick Mahomes right now. Patrick Mahomes has some tendencies that I think are going to end up burning him once the postseason rolls around again. We saw them begin in the Super Bowl, and we're seeing them still. Well, at least I'm seeing them still during these first 2 games of the season. He does some things that I don't think are good. He's able to get away with them because he can throw the ball with all different arm angles and all that stuff. But this stuff is going to come back and bite him later. I'm telling you. When it does, just remember I said so.
So the stuff that you don't like, we'll talk about a little bit later. I think that's almost a segment in and of itself.
That's cool.
As we're going to do a critique on Patrick Mahomes. I think we need to hold that. That sounds like a good one.
Well, I tell you what, I tell you the truth, I really don't want to talk about it in detail. I just want to wait for it to happen. I've already told people it's going to happen.
We don't know what the it is. What's the it that's going to happen?
Well, the one thing is just what we just mentioned. I just said guys that have really good running ability, quarterbacks that have really good running ability, once they break the pocket and their head is up and the ball is up and they're rolling out and they're scanning the field, if they see somebody break wide open or somebody sit down in a window and the DB's kind of clear away from them, yes, they will stop and they will drill it to them. If they don't, they're not going to stop and wait for them to clear. Not going to happen. They're going to be out. And then you said the one guy who will is Patrick Mahomes. That's dangerous. There's a reason why all those other guys won't do it, and he will. Part of it has to do with him believing in himself and his ability to get balls in where other people can't. And part of it, I think, is just, I don't know. I guess the guy got big balls. What can I say? But I believe it will be his undoing if he continues to do it. All this breaking the pocket instead of stepping up in the pocket and running around and all that stuff, he's still doing it. It killed him in the Super Bowl, and it's going to kill him again. It killed him Sunday.
So to make sure I kind of understand, because you said like he's not stepping up in the pocket. That's where you would have preferred. Okay, all right. Then all of that running around. All right, good stuff. Who's up next?
Minnesota Vikings against the Arizona Cardinals. Much better game than I expected. I don't think I looked at this one close enough. I should have. I should have expected a really good game here. But you've been lulling me to sleep with your Kirk Cousins hate, and I didn't really pick up on the potential of this game being as good as it was. So let me give it to you like this.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
You'll understand when I go through this, okay? So I know it's early, but there seems to be a new sheriff in town, and his name is Kyler Murray, okay? If you've been watching Kyler Murray, you can't be anything but amazed. Last week, he was tremendous. This week, he was spectacular. Of course, he's still young. He makes a few mistakes, but his combination of speed, quickness, better than average field vision. I've seen him roll out and stop and throw bombs, okay, that Patrick Mahomes probably wouldn't even attempt, okay? His arm strength in the pocket and on the run has kept his team in the win column. He's thrown 9 TDs in 2 games. I'm sorry, he didn't throw 9 TDs, but he has scored 9 TDs in 2 games, and that is nothing to sneeze at.
That's a combination run and pass, 9 TDs?
That's a combination of run and pass. 9 TDs in 2 games, yes.
He must be like a fantasy like god or something.
Yeah, right now, yes. Right now, if you have Kyler Murray in your team and you're starting him, you're probably 2-0 in fantasy. Yes. If you've got Kyler Murray or Derrick Henry, you definitely won this Sunday, because they put up enough fantasy points to carry your entire team, unless you're a complete idiot. Now on the other side of this one, the Vikings are 0-2. I didn't even realize until after the second week was over that they didn't win the first week. I've completely forgot. They're 0-2, but I can't blame it on their offense. Dalvin Cook got off to an amazing start. He had 96 yards rushing in the first half. He got a little ankle injury, but he kept grinding, stayed in the game, kind of was in and out, but he kept coming back in to try to play. He finished with 131 yards on 22 carries. So it was great that he was able to tough that out, even though he was kind of dinged. Now, your favorite whipping boy, Kirk fully guaranteed Cousins, has been balling. Kirk Cousins has been balling, bro. He threw TD passes on 3 of the Vikings' first 4 possessions. And with the Vikings trailing 24-23 at halftime, he looked primed to take the game over in the second half. Here's the problem. He struggled a little bit in the second half.
No.
Yes, but the Cardinals didn't run away with it. Okay? Even though he struggled, Kyler Murray kind of slowed down too. Let me see. Second half, he drove the offense down the field pretty much for the entire second half, but in the waning moments of the game, he was able to take them down to set them up for a 37-yard field goal that would have won the game. So basically, he got his job done. The defense slowed down Kyler Murray. Kirk Cousins took them down the field, set them up for a very makeable 37-yard field goal. The freaking kicker missed the kick. What can I say? Except, remember, all you Kirk Cousins haters, he has thrown for multiple touchdown passes in 10 of his last 11 starts dating back to last year. Kirk Cousins is doing his thing. You cannot blame these losses on him.
He sounds like what they used to say about Stafford when he was with the Lions. If he's just on a better team, maybe. Maybe. But in any event, you know,
maybe, perhaps.
The 0-2 Kirk Cousins somehow 0-2 with all of that success. It's amazing.
Right.
Amazing. All right, who's up next?
Let me see now. I got myself out of order here. I have some, let's see. How did I do that? Tampa Bay played Atlanta, right?
I do believe. I'll double check.
Yeah, okay. I'm good. So here's the deal. Tampa Bay pretty much smacked up on Atlanta. That was expected. No surprises here. Matt Ryan looks like he's still got some juice left in his arm. We talked about Matt Ryan in some previous videos about him still being able to throw the ball. But his mobility is basically non-existent. His O-line is also basically non-existent. So that's a really bad combination. I feel bad for Calvin Ridley, and I feel bad for Kyle Pitts, because these are two extremely gifted pass receivers who just aren't going to be able to get off like they want to, because Matt Ryan can't move and his offensive line cannot protect him. He fought hard, though. He completed 35 out of 46 passes for 300 yards, and he threw for 2 touchdowns, and he threatened to have a second half comeback, but he got picked off 3 times in the second half, and 2 of them were pick sixes. Bam. That's a killer. That's a killer. So for a half going into the third quarter against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Matt Ryan actually had an opportunity to possibly win the game and lost 48-25. 3 picks in the second half. 2 of them were house calls. You're never going to survive that. You're never going to survive that. So anyway, since we're talking about old guys with still having juice left in their arm, let's talk about Tom Brady. He looks better than ever. He's still able to make every throw when he needs to. He's using his quick release, so he seldom gets in trouble in the pocket. The Atlanta defense was completely overmatched. Brady carved him up for 24-36, 276 yards, 5 touchdowns. 5 touchdowns. 2 to Mike Evans, 2 to Gronk, 1 to Chris Godwin, spreading the ball around. The running game is a little lacking right now, but who the heck needs it when Tom Brady is on fire? Whew. Man, can't talk too much about Tom Brady. That's the GOAT.
I'm looking at the scoring on a quarter-by-quarter basis.
Mm-hmm.
Fourth quarter was it for Tampa Bay. Atlanta scored 0. Tampa Bay put 20 points on them in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, 2 by the defense and a 3rd interception that probably set up an offensive touchdown.
It's like if you take the 20 out of that, that's 28-25 Tampa Bay. It's almost it's a game. You know
exactly. That's my whole point about them trying to make a second half comeback. The situation was set, and the way he played in the first half, it looked like they were going to be able to really maybe make this game super competitive, maybe take it down to the wire and possibly set themselves up for an opportunity to win the game with a kick or something. But those picks killed them.
Atlanta won the third quarter 15-7.
Picks kill you. You can't throw every time you throw a pick six. That's crazy.
We're going to talk about my experience throwing pick sixes, or picks at the very least. I got some bad news to pass on, which
Lord,
is hilarious. But in any event, where do we stand here? Is that it?
Should have started Trey Lance. No, sir. We're not there yet. We're almost there, though. The Dallas Cowboys played the LA Chargers. Now, I expected this game to be better. I'm sorry. I expected this to be a really good game. I expected it to be better for the LA Chargers. It was in some respects, but unfortunately, they came out on the losing end, 20-17. And them being home, I was really upset about this one a little bit. I really love Justin Herbert, but things just didn't work out. So in case you haven't been paying attention, newsflash, the Dallas Cowboys have a running back by committee going on. When did that start? Zeke ran the ball 16 times for 71 yards and a touchdown. Tony Pollard ran the ball 13 times for 109 yards and another touchdown. Yeah, we got two guys working in the backfield for the Dallas Cowboys. I can't remember the last time that actually happened. The rest of the scoring in this game came from kicker Greg Zuerlein. Dak game managed his way through this one. Didn't throw for any touchdowns. Didn't run in any touchdowns. He did lead the drives down to get the rushing touchdowns and the field goals. But other than that, Dak was just out there kind of just moving the team, which is fine. They won the game. Now, let me talk about my man Justin Herbert. Last week, Justin Herbert, only his second year in the league, he shredded the Washington football team for 337 yards through the air, and he won the game. He comes in week 2, he lights up the Cowboys for 338 yards through the air on 31 of 41 pass. 31 of 41 for 338 yards. But he only threw one touchdown, and he got victimized for 2 interceptions. And that was the difference between winning and losing.
Killer.
It's a killer every time.
Maybe I know
So it was a bad luck loss for the Chargers. Besides the 2 interceptions, one of which was a throw into the end zone. So that was another red zone opportunity to score a touchdown. He had 2 touchdown passes that he completed, called back on penalties. They should have won this game. They should have won that game. So, two completed touchdown passes, called back on penalties, and another shot to the end zone for a touchdown that got intercepted. So they were attacking. They were going for it. But what are you gonna do, man?
That's a lot of passes for a second-year quarterback, man. That's
yeah. Well, this guy's different, man. This guy's the way Lamar Jackson is different running the ball. Justin Herbert is different throwing the ball. This dude's going to be prolific. He is, and you always say, barring injury, this guy could rewrite record books. And I'm saying that now in his second year. Justin Herbert could be the guy that rewrites the record books. The way he started his career and the way he's continued on into his second year, it's amazing.
So I love this is the second coming of the Chargers. What did the Chargers used to call their air game?
Air Coryell?
Is it second coming of the Air Coryell?
What's their head coach name? Staley? Could be Air Staley. Might be.
Oh, man. Now, let me just say real quick, the Pollard Zeke situation has actually sparked conversation relative to Pollard, being a better running back than Zeke at this particular point. And some people are saying that the offense looks quicker, faster, and better with him in there. With those stats, it kind of makes you at least stop and consider what they're saying. Now, again, we're in the first part of the second preseason, so we're all kind of learning some things going on. And then lastly, let me say, our boy, Corey Clement, did get into the game.
He did? I didn't see him.
This is hilarious. I get a phone call early. His dad's an early bird. He calls me like 7 o'clock in the morning. Like, he don't call me at 7 unless it's an emergency. It's like 911, except for him. And he's like, did you see the picture? he has a picture on Facebook of his son and the Chargers. I think it's their cornerback. I think his name is Webb or something like that.
Okay.
They're friends from high school.
Oh, okay, cool.
And the picture of them was them walking back toward the huddle. What had happened was that they brought Corey in as a running back and then split him out wide.
Ah.
And he went deep on his board.
Okay. He had to cover him. That's funny.
Well, according to Steve, Corey beat him too.
Okay.
But it was called back on a penalty.
Yeah.
And that's when you see it.
Was that one of the touchdowns that got called back?
I don't know. It wasn't a touchdown.
Oh, okay. All right.
It was a holding penalty, and so
Okay.
they, on the play. So
Okay.
yeah, that was interesting because we were looking for his number's 32.
Okay.
Weren't sure what his number was going to be. So
all right.
I said, yeah, that was interesting.
I'll keep an eye out, but yeah, word on the street is that Tony Pollard is playing better than Zeke. And again, this goes back to our whole second preseason thing and the fact that not only do we now only have 3 preseason games instead of 4, but also some teams opted to keep their starters out, which means they weren't able to get that training camp preseason rust off of them and are now trying to do it in the real games. And I think that's what's wrong with Zeke. I think he'll crank it up in the next couple of weeks or so. But right now, Tony Pollard, who got more carries in practice than normal and probably got more carries in the preseason games because Zeke didn't play any, is he's more primed and ready, and it's showing.
Ready for the second preseason, eh?
Right. He's ready. He's off and running. He's hitting the hole quicker. So that's when you hear that things seem to be running faster and smoother when Pollard is in there. That's why he's hitting the holes quicker and he's getting out of there. Where Zeke is a little tentative. It's the NFL. Your offensive line opens a hole. It ain't gonna stay open but so long, and it's gonna close again. Somebody's gonna fill it. So, that's where that is. But here we go with a great game. I extremely enjoyed watching this game. The Tennessee Titans coming off a horrible game week 1, go into Seattle to play the Seahawks and end up winning the game 33-30 in overtime. This game was a good old-fashioned slugfest. The Seahawks have a new OC, and he's letting Russ cook again. So, the let Russ cook thing worked really well early last season. Then it kind of had some, bumps in the road as we went along. But we're back to it again. They seem to believe in it. They're going to try to stick with it and see what happens. Right now, it's pretty successful. So Russ had 22 completions on 31 attempts. He threw for 343 yards and 2 touchdowns. Both the touchdowns were bombs. I mean, dramatic, big, darn near 70-yard bombs. One was to Tyler Lockett. One was the tight end, Freddie Swain. Chris Carson also scored 2 touchdowns on the ground. So Chris Carson's having a good year as a running back. The Titans D, this is the crazy thing. The Titans D gave up 30 in this one, just like they gave up 38 last week to Arizona. But this time, the Titans offense actually showed up because in the Arizona game, Tannehill did nothing. Derrick Henry had like 60 yards rushing. It was crazy. But in this game, Tannehill and Henry showed up. Tannehill was productive yardage-wise. He had 347 yards through the air, but he didn't throw any touchdowns, but he also didn't turn the ball over. But what he did as far as yardage through the air and moving the team was more than enough. And then Derrick Henry was able to take care of the rest. It was insane watching him run. It was just reminiscent of last season and so many games he had where he just decimated defenses. he single-handedly destroyed the Seattle defense. He had 35 carries, 182 yards, 3 touchdowns. One was the game winner in overtime, and an uncharacteristic 6 targets. And he caught all 6 of them for an additional 55 yards. He was killing them. And it's good. There's 2 reasons why it's good that Derrick Henry is catching passes out of the backfield. Number one, it enhances him and gives defenses fits when they have to play him, because now you have to watch him all the time. They're not going to take him out on 3rd down and put in somebody else. He can stay out there. And number 2, if you got him in fantasy in a PPR league, that makes him even more valuable than he already is, because every catch he makes, which was he made 6 catches in this game, you get 1 point for every catch that he makes. That's another touchdown. He caught 6 balls. That's 6 points in fantasy. It's like scoring another touchdown. It's amazing. So if you got Derrick Henry, you gotta love it. Kansas City.
I enjoy seeing Derrick Henry run away from people who don't expect that he's that fast that he should be able to do that. It's amazing because he did it the one time against the Seahawks, and I'm like, they're not going to catch him because he just doesn't seem like he should be that fast, you know?
It's like I used to say about Jerry Rice. They said at the combine he ran a 4.640. He's football fast. Okay? He runs fast as he needs to. That's Derrick Henry.
Well, it's generally as fast as the other people on the. And then the other thing is, I'm sitting and I'm watching Russell cook, as you say, and I'm like, 2 things you can't give Russell at the same time: a pocket and a locket.
Not the play on words. I had to turn my head around on that one. Oh, Lord have mercy. We got 2 more games to go. We got Sunday night and we got Monday night. Sunday night, what a game. This was my intriguing game of the week. The Kansas City Chiefs roll in to, what's the name of their stadium? M&T Bank. I'm going to learn all the stadiums because, you know, all the stadiums change their names now with these sponsors and all. But I used to know every NFL stadium. I'm going to relearn every NFL stadium before the season is over. M&T Bank Stadium, Baltimore, Maryland, and the Ravens pulled off the 36-35 win. Patrick Mahomes was hot last week. He stayed hot this week. 24 of 31, not bad. 343 yards, really nice. 3 touchdowns. Can't say nothing bad about that. Here's the problem. He wasn't fully loaded. The Ravens defense had Tyreek Hill strapped. I kept waiting for Tyreek Hill to break out because I got him on a couple fantasy teams. He never did. And they stifled the Chiefs' running game. Now, I'm sure that was their plan coming in. Stopping the running game, okay, that's doable. Strapping down Tyreek Hill, that's tough. Everybody tries to do that, but the Ravens pulled it off. That was major. As a result, Mahomes ended up throwing passes to 9 different receivers. The problem is he threw 1 pass too many late in the game. It was a devastating interception. It gave the Ravens the ball back. And when the Chiefs tried to have a last-ditch comeback at the very end of the game, Clyde Edwards-Helaire fumbled the ball. The Ravens recovered, sat on it, sealed the deal, victory formation, bing, bang, bang, all done. But let's talk about the Ravens side of this thing. Lamar Jackson. You know I love Lamar Jackson. You know I get upset when you talk about, you know, I know a lot of young running quarterbacks, but I don't know any old ones. I get it. I get it. But this dude is special. Special beyond the word special. He's so special, I don't even know how to label him. He hasn't been lighting it up through the air. He missed some receivers in this game. Some of his throws were errant, erratic, whatever you want to call it. He threw 2 interceptions to Tyrann Mathieu, Honey Badger. One of them he took back pick 6. It was looking bad, but he kept them in the game. And as unimpressive as he was throwing the ball, he was exceptionally special running the ball. He ran the ball 16 times for 107 yards and 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter when it really counted and it had to get done. He's on track in my mind, especially if he starts to throw the ball a little bit better, to be on that MVP level like he was a couple of seasons ago. I can see it happening again. And here's the really great MVP type thing. When the Ravens were faced with a 4th and 1 and had to decide what they were going to do, are we going to punt the ball back to Patrick Mahomes, or are we going to go for it? They put the camera right on John Harbaugh, and you could easily read his lips. He said, Lamar, do you want to go for it? Just like that, clearly. And they didn't have to put the camera on Lamar. I knew what he was going to say. He said yes. They went out there. He quarterback sneak, got the yard, bing, bang, bong, see you later, game over. That kid's special, man. He's special. Even when he scored a touchdown when nobody hit him, he did a stupid-ass flip and hit himself and landed on his hip. He
said he was sore from that, but he would do it again.
Sure he would. But if he did it again, he would do it better.
Let me ask you a question. Would he be as special to you if Clyde Edwards-Helaire had not fumbled that ball?
Possibly. Quite possibly.
You know, it's when you lose it's amazing how when you lose, you know, all that stuff that you did a lot of times doesn't get recognized as special. It's now, okay, what did you need to do to win? But it was an exciting game. I'm with you. There's no doubt the Chiefs' defensive line had a task to do, and they failed. And that task was keep these guys from getting the first down. That was their task.
And you also have to remember, Helaire had done nothing up to that point, and it was the fourth quarter. So if he doesn't fumble, they're going to stop him anyway. He did nothing. They were on his ass. He couldn't break off a run if he paid them guys to let him run. I wasn't worried about that. If he don't fumble, they punt.
I don't know what the clock said. I don't know how much time they might have been able to kill. And again, you always talk about field positions, how important it is. So those things would definitely be different. But it was a great game. It was a fun game. I like Lamar. I'm glad to see that they were able to win, and as he said, get that monkey off my back, which is, a famous term that one of my Niners used.
He used the term that the Chiefs were his kryptonite. And when one of the writers brought it up at his post-game news conference, he said, "Hey, I said it one time. Y'all making it seem like I'm scared of these dudes. Like I said that one time. Give me a break."
Hey, you only got to say it one time when it gets recorded in posterity. And
I know, but they beat you over the head with it,
Well, it's always going to be there. That's what I'm saying.
That's why these guys don't like to give interviews.
If you want to say that stuff, don't put it out there. All right. That was Sunday.
Last one, gang. Monday night, Detroit Lions. Let me quote you, watch out for the Lions. Roll up into Green Bay to pay the Packers after they came off a devastating loss in week 1. What did you expect to happen, bro?
I said I expected the Packers to win. I just thought that the Lions were being pretty feisty, and they actually were leading at the half.
Yeah, they were.
Yes, they were.
Yeah, they were. But let's remember who their quarterback is, okay?
Man, let me
So,
tell you, let me say this much real quick. I'm gonna let you throw your stats out there, okay? Two things happened. One, Lions lost their rookie cornerback, and that really seemed to be a final straw because they're
he's not a
really
rookie.
well. Was he a first year, second year?
He was in the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Jared Goff went to the Super Bowl.
No. I said cornerback.
Oh, corner. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, the Lions lost their cornerback.
Yeah, right.
They're so weak there. And secondly, the throw that Aaron threw to Tunyon for the score. Go ahead. You go from there.
A thing of beauty.
It was ridiculous.
A thing of beauty. There's no way. I watched it several times. And when I got tired of watching it and I stopped, I said to myself, you know what? Later on today, I'm going to look at that again. That's how good that pass was. It's unbelievable how it almost skimmed off the defender's shoulder and somehow was still perfectly thrown to the receiver. That was unbelievable.
I was amazed Tunyon caught it because I would have been.
That's another thing.
Surprised that it got to me through all of that. But
I'm surprised he
practices
saw
with
it.
Aaron, so he knows. He probably expects those magical things. So
yeah,
it might not have surprised him, even though it would have surprised us.
Because it looked like he threw it to the defender's back. So I don't even see how I'm pretty sure Tunyon saw it coming, but he probably lost it for a second before it actually hit his hands. Because the defender was between the ball and him. But hey, we'll look at it again. Anyway, so Jared Goff comes out, actually on fire in the first half. As I'm watching it, I'm thinking, well, Barry might be on to something. Oh, we got to watch out for these Lions, but they still got to play defense. And they might be lucky if they're kind of feisty, like Barry said, because Green Bay might be questioning themselves after that week 1 loss. Well, the Lions are winning the game 17-14 at halftime. Then in the second half, Jared Goff fumbles twice, throws a pick in the fourth quarter.
Three turnovers. Three turnovers.
3 turnovers in the fourth, 3 turnovers in the second half, 1 in the fourth quarter. Meanwhile, Aaron Rodgers bounces back in a huge way, completes a sizzling 22 of 27 for 255, 4 touchdowns, and Aaron Jones goes bananas. 17 little carries, 67 little yards, 1 touchdown, but catches 6 passes for 48 yards and 3 more. Rodgers throws for 4. 3 of them to Jones. What a combination. Devontae Adams, I don't think Devontae Adams scored. I'm not sure. I have to double check my notes.
No, but he had a catch that scared the snot out of everybody. That thing down the sideline.
Oh, yeah.
Dropped it in his hands. And it's like, oh my God, are they going to start doing stuff like this? And that was on the side. That was the play where the corner got hurt. And he wound up going out.
Yeah.
He got caught, he got victimized twice.
Bro.
That was the play.
Devontae Adams is, oh my goodness. I could get a bunch of people in a room and we could argue about who's the best wide receiver in the league right now, who's the best route runner, who has the best hands. If you just ask those 3 questions, the argument would never stop. You could go at it for a week. Put 10 people in a room. It's crazy. But you will always hear Devontae Adams' name. His name is always going to come up in all of them. You might hear Keenan Allen when he talks about route running. You might hear Stephon Diggs. You might hear Hopkins. But you're going to hear Devontae Adams' name every time. Every time.
Well, it was a beautiful pass, and it was a catch that it was gorgeous in and of itself. So the whole thing was enough to say to the Lions, y'all in trouble, you know. But they put up 17. I'm sorry to hear that Goff dissolved in such a way that he did with the turnovers. And that's what you can't afford against that team. We'll talk more about that in the next segment. Well, now.
Oh, let me just say one more thing.
Sure.
I picked all these games last week. Some of them I went with the bias, some I went against. I was 10 out of 16. I'm back, baby. I'm back.
10 out of 16. You know something? I went to calculate what the bias was. Did you happen to notice that?
No, but I might be able to figure it out for you real fast.
All right. Well, you know, we're gonna wrap up this segment, and I do appreciate all the hard work on the review of week 2. Let me just ask you one last question. If you were to say what was your biggest surprise from week 2, or what was something you learned that, you know, kind of like, okay, it's something that I wasn't expecting.
I would probably go back to the Carolina game. Well, 2 things. Number 1, the Carolina Panthers defense is for real. Until they prove me wrong, I think the Carolina defense is going to carry them far, and Sam Darnold is thriving under Matt Rule, his head coach, who used to coach at Temple. Matt Rule has a good grasp of what it is that he wants to do with his team, and he understands his talent level on his team, and he's working really well with them. The Carolina Panthers are going to be a problem as we move through the season, especially for the teams in their division. They've already proved that to New Orleans. The other thing is, I mentioned last week, these defenses, man, these defenses that we thought were going to be really good, the Washington football team gave up 29 points to the Giants. You know what I'm saying? The Cleveland Browns gave up 21 to the Houston Texans. The Rams that people were like, oh, that defense, Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, they gave up 21 to Indianapolis, and they weren't great the week before. You know, it's just, yeah. These defense, the Pittsburgh Steelers, are you kidding me? Some fantasy sites had the Pittsburgh Steelers as the number 1 defense coming into this season. Not so, bro. The freaking Raiders put 26 on them with no problem and beat them. And beat them deep with Henry Ruggs. Barry, Henry Ruggs is trying to prove me wrong. Henry Ruggs. You got to love it, man. You got to love it.
Okay. All right. Thanks all right. Well, that wraps up Ben's review of week 2. Next up, we're going to do the Sterling net point power rankings.